Joining us now, she is, of course, the reigning SEC Pitcher of the Year last year, won her, of course, All-American last season, had an incredible year, off to another great year, has won many national awards, including this week's D1 Softball Pitcher of the Week national, and more importantly now, Miss Tennessee, which we'll explain that a little bit. And, of course, I speak of Tennessee ace pitcher Karlyn Pickens joining us here and in the circle on D1 Softball. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Let's talk about that Miss Tennessee. That was on Monday night. I know Tennessee all got together, student athletes award show. Just explain that and the great honor you got winning Miss Tennessee, which I believe goes to the student athlete with achievement in athleticism as well as academics.
Yes, absolutely. So we have this award banquet at the end of well, not really the end of our season, but towards the middle of the spring, just to recognize some of the great achievements. And I was honored to receive the Miss Tennessee Award, which is for, like you mentioned, a award that is to someone who achieves excellence both on the field and in the classroom. So it was super cool just to be able to go to that event, get dressed up, and then accept that award in front of all my fellow athletes and teammates. So it's very special, and I'm very thankful for that.
What's that like to be honored there among your peers? Like I said, this is Tennessee, one of the great athletics departments in the whole country. Great athletes all over the sports scene, and you get that honor.
Yeah, I mean, it's so special. And just knowing all the people nominated as well were just such amazing people and athletes that, for my name to be called, it's super special just to be able to walk up on stage and be applauded by, everyone at my school. Everyone is so supportive of each other, and that's something that I'm truly thankful. And it's different at Tennessee. Everyone is very supportive.
Of course, you're fresh off a big series win at Texas. You've had a couple days to reflect on that series. What comes to your mind there? Because it is always every weekend in the SEC a big battle. But what was it like for you and for your team to come out on top there after dropping the first game but bouncing back and winning the last two?
Yeah, I mean, the word that comes to mind is just grit. We had the rough first game, didn't really like how we obviously we didn't win, so that was kind of a bummer, but we kept the energy up going into the next games, and our team was just like so pumped, so ready to go at them. I myself was ready as well. Just wanted to do whatever it takes for my team to get the win. So a lot of energy out there. Definitely stadium was crazy. Texas is a great team, so that alone is a lot of pressure. But yeah, we were able to come out on top. It was cool.
Words that have come to mind when I see you pitch is the energy you reference. You play with a lot of energy, but joy. I sense you get the joy. I've never seen somebody with the joy like when you get a strikeout. There's a joy that comes with it. Just talk about that, where that came from, because that's the first thing I noticed when I first started covering you a couple of years ago. Is that energy and joy that you bring to the circle.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a great compliment. I appreciate that. And I think I've come a long way because my freshman, sophomore year, I'd say more my freshman year, you probably didn't see that as much. I was a little more timid on the mound, just kind of getting used to the college stadium, but with the help of my coaches, Karen, Megan, they've done a tremendous job just like building my mental game, and like we've talked about just like our why and like why we play the sport. And you know we do this because we love it and we love competing. And so I've just tried to embody that in everything that I do regarding softball. I'm gonna celebrate. I'm gonna, you know, fist bump when I throw a strike. Like I don't even care if I look stupid sometimes because I'm having a great time, and I think that leads to the success that I'm having. So it's
And
cool.
it feeds off your teammates. I get a sense feed off of that. Do you sense that too?
Yeah, I do think so. I think, when anybody brings energy, our team is very reciprocal, however you say that word, but we always like bounce back with each other. So like if someone gets a home run, like we're hyping them up, we're doing everything with them. And I think, when I do my job in the circle and I'm pointing at my defense behind me, that just it motivates them for when they get back in to score and, keep that energy going.
Speak of your pitching staff, because you've had various roles with it. Now, we've had. I remember, I think the Oklahoma games, you would come in relief for your
Yeah.
pitchers. Then the first game of the Texas series went by committee approach there. Just talk about the staff and learn and certainly what you tell them, and because you're kind of the leader of that staff.
Yeah, I would just say, we're very, very flexible. We do what our job is asked. There's a kind of a different, vibe for the Texas series going in. I started the first inning, and then game plan was someone else to come in and me finish the job, had that worked out. But obviously game plans don't always fall through. So, but everyone is just on board doing their job. You know, we're just so supportive of each other, and that's what I think makes us so dominant is the fact that when I'm not out there, I am wanting her to win so bad. And then when I'm out there, they're all cheering me on as well. So we have a great relationship along with everybody.
You used to be in that role, be the youngster of the staff.
Mhm.
What's it like to be the veteran of the staff?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's cool to just like see just like where they are now and reflect and know like, hey, I was in their shoes one day and like now I know what they need to hear and like things that will help them. So whether it's just, having a conversation in the locker room or in between innings, just like I like to do just positive reminders like, if somebody has a bad game, I've had plenty of bad games. It's not the end of the world. Karen always says it's how you respond to things. So I try and just be a reflection of that and really just be a positive and just a friend also.
When you talk about Coach Weekly and of course Megan Rose Smith, talk about their impact in your career and your growth and development as a pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing and the biggest thing that comes to mind is just mental game because when I came into college, excuse me, when I came into college, I honestly didn't have much of a mental game. I dominated in high school, travel ball, I pretty much dominated in travel ball too. So when it came to college, like I had never really felt like, wow, like these girls are really good. And, I'm not always gonna win all the time. So developing that mental game and knowing like, okay, if I give my best and I'm going up against somebody that's also giving their best, like, I might not always end up on top, but it's how you respond to that. And I think just over the years, really dedicating a lot of time to my process and routines and just like how I like think about the game, it's completely switched and it's honestly, it makes playing so much more fun.
I get a sense of that. Do you enjoy the process? How much of the process do you enjoy? You mentioned the game plan on the first game, but you probably knew about it. You going ahead. How much of the process do you ask questions about the process and maybe some of the game plans? Is that something that intrigues you?
Yeah, absolutely. I do like to kind of be in the know. Um, I just think that I like work better when I know what's going on. I know like what to expect and everything. And I think that's the fun part about softball is, to think about like why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And then also just when I'm pitching as well, just like having a game plan, knowing what specific things that I need to do that are controllables to beat whatever team we're facing. So,
Let's. You mentioned you win the series at Texas, you win a series at Oklahoma. There was so much hoopla about them joining the SEC. I'm wondering, as a team, you're the two-time defending SEC regular season champions. Was there a part of it? There's obviously respect for them and everything like that, but there was also a part of you as a team that you're like, hey, we're the defending champs here. Don't forget about us.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And right, no discredit to them because, Oklahoma, Texas, they're outstanding teams. It took everything in us to get those wins, but I just think that that's a reflection just of how mentally and physically tough we are because, to go up against Oklahoma, the reigning national champions, that can be intimidating, especially in their home stadium with I mean, it was a show out there. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's pretty crazy. And for us to show up and just like, you know what, I got my shoulders back, I'm not backing down. So just really proving ourselves, not that we really had anything to prove, but just like continuing to be Tennessee. And I think that's what it's all about.
What was it like at Oklahoma there in that atmosphere in that new Loves Field?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, at one point they had like planes flying over the field. They had the cheerleading squad out. Just like fans were going crazy. At one point, it literally like everyone was standing, everyone was cheering. It felt like something from a movie, honestly. But I mean, I love the environments like that. I think it's so cool. I think it just brings everybody's best when there's, so much just hoopla, attention, everyone's cheering. So it was fun. It really was fun.
Is that one of your favorite road environments that you've pitched in?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Um, we all in the media make a big deal anytime there's a great pitching matchup, like you against Tegan this weekend. Everybody was excited to see that matchup. In
Mhm.
fact, that was kind of the funny part about the Friday game because you started, but then they took you out and they're asking Coach Weekly, what's going on? And she's
Yeah.
smiling like everything's good, part of the plan and all
Yeah.
that. Do you block all that out? Do you get as excited as us as fans and media do when anytime you're matched up with a great pitcher?
Yeah, I normally block it out. I did play over the summer with Tegan, and she's a great girl. She's sweet. We're friends. So normally I just try and focus about things that are really important. Obviously when you're playing Texas, you can't really be distracted with a lot of things. So I just try and focus on our game plan, focus on executing my pitches, and I just respect the game. I respect the fact that Tegan's a great pitcher. She puts in the same amount of work that I do, and I love that. I love that we all devote so much to such a great game.
How are you a different pitcher today than you were when you walked on campus? And you ended up winning Freshman of the Year right off the bat, made a name of yourself your freshman year. But how are you different today than you were your freshman year a couple of years back?
Yeah, we've kind of touched on it with just the energy piece, but I think the main thing would just be confidence. I think when I am out on the mound, there is just nothing that can come in between me and striking somebody out or getting an out. And I think that was just the flip from, freshman year to now. But for sure, I think that confidence piece it's really coming and it's showing. Yeah.
Who were players that took you under your wing when you first got there? Kind of like you're taking some of the players now under your wing. Who was that for you?
Ashley Rogers, hands down, for sure. She was such a great role model for me. We're still friends. I mean, I went to her wedding. She's just such an awesome person, and she was not afraid to be vulnerable and just explain, that things were hard for her. She's not perfect, and I think that helped all of us. I mean, there was multiple younger classmen that was under her wing, and I think she really devoted a lot of time and energy into us when she didn't have to. And I think that's really special, and we have a great relationship.
What? Let's talk about you growing up there, because I understand you played basketball, you played volleyball as well, and softball. First of all, how do you have time to play all those sports at the first time? What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I just loved being on the go, 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 go. I always played sports, played basketball, t-ball. Didn't get into volleyball until middle school, but I just loved competing. I was always the one that was wanting to get out and go outside and, play in the dirt, play with my brothers. So I just that's just what I did for my time. Like that just seemed like kind of the norm. And I will say too, I have always said that, I encourage girls to play as many sports as they can while they're growing up, just because I think me for myself playing basketball, it just kept me more athletic. It kept me, one out of trouble. I was playing sports all the time. Not that I'm a troublemaker, but it just kept me in the competitive mindset. I was always, doing something that was going to be helping me on the softball field, volleyball with the overhand hits and stuff. So I just think it kept me in that competitive mindset all year round. And that's what I think kind of helped me become a leader as well. Just, always competing.
What made you pick softball then? Because you probably could have gone a lot of different directions there. Was softball the first love? I mean, give me how did it all end up where you ended up going with softball?
Yeah. I guess you would say softball was the first love. I really did love basketball and volleyball, probably about the same, but I played travel softball when I was younger. I didn't really get into the club volleyball and club basketball. So I guess that's probably why I chose softball and the fact that I could do something which was, throw hard, and that was kind of a different thing. It was like, oh wow, I can do something that not a lot of people can do in this sport. So I kind of took that and ran with it.
And you're running with it well.
Yeah.
What positions did you play in basketball and volleyball?
In volleyball, I was outside and then outside hitter, and then basketball, I ran the court, so big man.
Big man. Oh, big person. Okay, big, tall, up in the paint there. Which sport
Yeah.
did you? If you had to analyze it, which one are you a better volleyball player or are you a better basketball player?
Oh gosh. Hmm. I would probably say, oh, I want to say volleyball. I was pretty good at volleyball, but I did play basketball for longer, so I don't know. It might be a tie. I was pretty good at both, but
That's a good problem to have. I've
yeah.
had a lot of players on this show have told me that have played volleyball that helped them from a softball standpoint. That was that the case with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like the jumping, keeping me in shape, keeping me athletic. And then, I think there is kind of a correlation, with the overhand volleyball hit to a softball pitch, just keeping your arm in shape, maybe. So yeah, always trying to compete, always trying to get better.
Do you have a favorite athlete growing up?
I would probably say Jenny Finch is the first one that comes to mind. Yep.
Man, I've had the majority of the players I've had on always pick her. which
Yeah.
is wild to me. Like it's exciting. Have you met her yet?
Actually have not met her. So she coached during the PGF All-American games. She coached the other team. So I was like in my dugout, like so jealous that they got to be coached by her. But no, I haven't met her yet. Maybe one day.
Oh, you gotta, yeah, that's gotta be on your, check the box list. I
Yeah.
think we can make somebody can make that happen. I feel
Yeah.
like on that. What made you come to Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, it was always in my backyard. I went to camps since I was young. I think I have a picture of me and Karen and Ralph like when I was like 8 years old. I think so. Yeah, so just love Tennessee. And then when it came time to make the decision, I mean, it literally was just like when you know, you know. I mean, I committed on September 1st. I don't think anybody expected that out of me. But when I got off the call, that was a pretty hectic day just with all the phone calls I had. But I was like, you know what, this is where I want to be. And I don't know why. I don't know what made me choose it, but I think it was just the right place to be. So,
Mentioned earlier about what the great athletic department Tennessee is. Everybody knows the history of the Lady Vols in all athletics, certainly the great Pat Summit and women's
yeah.
basketball. And so it's carried over to all the sports, softball, obviously, at the top of that list. But what's it like to be around that and that history and that tradition, not just with your program in softball, but the other programs on campus as well? Getting to go to Neyland for football
Yeah.
weekends. It's kind of like a lot of people's bucket list.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, it's really special to be a part of something that so many people like celebrate and I mean, they love us. They truly love us. Our fan base is like no other. We have so much support from all different types of people, I mean, every sport has like people that are supporting them and I just think that's so special to be a part of a college that everyone is just, I've said support so many times, but like it's true. Like there's just so many people that love us and they want to help us and you feel really loved when you're on campus, that's for sure.
What's that like to be one of the faces of the athletic department of the program? Like I know you do local commercials there, which you do a fantastic job. So I definitely want to ask you about that. But what's that like to have that fanfare? Anytime like SEC Nation, for example, goes or game day goes to Tennessee and they bring up softball, your name comes up.
Yeah, it's pretty fun and I look back at like the young me and I would be freaking out if I knew that I was in this in my shoes. So it's fun and I love, just getting to be a part of the community and, have that kind of social piece. I feel like it kind of connects us to everyone that's a supporter, even like I don't know if you've seen the Weigels tweets and all that. Like it's super fun just like looking on my phone after a game and like everyone's tweeting at me that they're getting their free Cokes and all that. So it's super fun.
I have seen those. My favorite ones is like where they're like, I think there was one you did where they're like coming up with promotional ideas. It's like, what if you get 18 strikeouts? I'm like, I've never
Yeah.
had. And then like, hey, if you hit a home run, I'm like, and
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, that's not gonna happen. Well, Christian Moore did it, and that's the thing. You're sharing it with baseball.
Yeah.
What's that like to be involved in commercials?
Yeah, it's kind of it's definitely fun. I had never really been a part of something like that. I was just like going in with the open mind. And I love how it turned out. I think yeah, it was just like so fun and it's definitely something that you can laugh at like with all of our fan base. Like it's not really supposed to be like realistic. It's more of just like, oh, they're putting an athlete in to try and do a commercial. Like it's funny. It's supposed to be entertaining and I just think it's great. Yeah.
I mean, it helps you're playing yourself, so it's not like you're playing a character, but you delivered it well. You felt like, did you feel comfortable? Did it take you a couple of takes to kind of get comfortable? What was it like?
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty comfortable actually. I think it didn't take too long to get it down, and yeah, it was fun. It was pretty simple. Just had to read a few lines, so nothing crazy.
Well, you did great. You did great. I
Thank
enjoy
you.
those. When was the moment that either it could be a game, it could have been a moment at practice, it could have been where you're like, "Ooh, okay, I belong here at this level in Division One. I have that confidence." Because when you first come in as a softball player, you're probably trying to figure yourself out, get that
Yeah.
confidence you mentioned. When was that moment for you?
Yeah. Let's see. It'd probably be, I would say in preseason, my freshman year. I came in, I didn't really know what to expect. I don't know if I have a specific game in mind, but I know that, I am a confident person. I just needed to like kind of figure out, where I stood in the college since. And I think preseason freshman year, just like having those first games under my belt and having some success early on, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can do this, and just rolled with it.
And roll with it you have. We had Monica Abbott on this podcast a couple of weeks ago, and you came up because that was right around the time you threw the 78-mile-an-hour pitch, which has become legendary now. And the thing she told me that impresses her, and many things that she's impressed by you, but one of them is your mechanics. She says your mechanics are as smooth, as close to perfect as it gets from a mechanical standpoint. Just talk about your mechanics and how much you worked on that and the keys to that, because that's certainly, she said, that's one of the reasons why you're able to throw like you're able to throw and throw a 77, 78-mile-an-hour pitch.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that I'm definitely my levers, my arms and legs. I think that kind of has a lot to do with my pitching mechanics because I'm so long. And I think the best word to describe my pitching style is just loose and whippy. Like I just try to be as swift and athletic as possible. And I think I've also noticed too, just working with Megan, I'm very much like a kind of a visual person. So like if she is explaining that I need to do something differently, like if I can see what that looks like in my head, then I'm pretty good at like replicating it right away. So yeah, just trusting all the things that Megan has taught me, my pitching coach, Stacy Johnson Whitfield. I mean, just like all the people that have helped me, Brandon Carr as well. And there's just been so many people who've like put in their ideas and like things that they thought would help me. And then I've applied that and I figured out what works for me, what's comfortable. That's the main thing. I just do what's comfortable for me and what allows me to throw as hard as I can and it works.
It's definitely working there. Do you know when you're pitching that your mechanics are off? Do you need somebody to kind of remind you, hey, you're a little off here? Like what are you one that likes to watch yourself on tape a lot and see your mechanics and how it's looking on film? What style are you?
Yeah, so coming into college, I definitely would say I'd have to be like, I need a camera to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Now that I've had a lot of pitching reps and I can pretty much tell when something's off and what that is and what the adjustment is pretty quickly. Like if I'm not under my rise ball enough and I can feel that, usually like tell Megan right away, like, oh, I just need to do this. And it's kind of just a process and sometimes it's helpful during a game as well to like realize that, hey, I know exactly what the fix is for this, and then I can make that adjustment mid-game, and there we go.
That's pretty good. What's it like? How does it feel to throw a 78-mile-an-hour pitch like you did?
It's very special. I think to actually physically throw the pitch, it's pretty cool. It's everything just feels very on time is the best way I could put it. Like when it comes out of your hand, like it just feels like perfect timing. But just like from a headspace point, I think it's just really special to, I always dreamed about, beating a record or when I was younger, because I did throw harder than most people when I was young as well. So like that was kind of my thing. I threw hard. So to actually see that, pan out for the long run and like accomplish something that I've been thinking about for so long, it's really special. And I was just so thankful to have celebrated that with my team as well, like right after the game too. So just it was awesome.
How young were you when you before you realized, oh wow, I throw harder than everybody else around me. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Let's see. Um, there was at one point where I always had played up a year or two. And so I had a local travel team that had asked me to come back down and play on their 10U tournament when I had already been in 12U for 2 years. And my dad was like questioning it pretty heavily because they're like, Karlyn, you're gonna hurt somebody. Like, because we go from 35 feet in 10U to 40 or I think, yeah, 40 feet, which, 5 feet, it's a long ways when you're thinking about pitching. And at that point I was humming it. And so I went to this tournament and it was so funny. I don't think the catcher like I think she was scared for her life every pitch. And I think that was the time that Dad was like, you know what, we're never playing Tinyu again. You've moved on from that, and that was probably the moment. So I was around 11.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
When you threw the pitch, did it feel different than any other pitch, or was it just this, you felt the same like you would have a 70-mile-an-hour pitch?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd say it probably felt around the same. It did hit the backstop, so some mechanics were maybe off a little bit, maybe didn't release on time, but it was 78, so I don't care if it hits the top of the fence, you know.
How'd you find out that it was 78? Did somebody tell you right in the dugout after you left? Did you know at the moment? What was it like when you found out?
Yeah, so we had won the game against Arkansas, and then they were playing Rocky Top like they always do on the loudspeakers. And then as we're going through the line, they announced that I had broken the record, and everyone started cheering. So it was very special.
Yeah, it became a big social media topic in a lot of ways. I think Briella's like, yeah, I felt that way. I knew that pitch. I knew the pitch at the moment when it came near me there. And then Monica Abbott was excited for you there. What does it mean to have the support of somebody like Monica, who's the goat of the program, to have your back and have that support? And of course, she was the one that threw 77. She's one of the few people in the world that can relate to you throwing that hard.
Yeah, it's very special. And I mean, me and Monica just have such a great relationship. I mean, I can call her, text her at any time, and she's in my corner. She's gonna help me, and she's really just somebody that, she's definitely an inspiration for all she's done in the softball world, and I think she's just a great mentor for me.
What's the biggest advice she's given you?
Let's see. I would say just to keep focusing on myself, I think is a big thing. Like, don't get caught up in the all the other distractions and just keep doing my job.
When people ask you about your team, how do you describe your team?
Gosh, I would say energy, lots of energy. Um, we never back down and we fight. That's what I would say. So, anything that they throw at us, we're always going to bring energy and we're always going to fight for it.
Is the Olympics a goal for you after college? Is that something you shoot for?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
28. So you got 2028 circled in there as a goal.
Yep, it's X'd off in the calendar.
What goals do you have outside of softball?
Yeah, gosh, let's see. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into that, honestly, because softball has taken up a large
Sure.
portion of my life. But I'm very much a family person. I love my family, and relationships are everything to me. Me and my boyfriend have been together for a year, so I think it's important for me to start a family at one day and think about life outside of softball because that's important as well. And softball is fun right now, but what's even more special is going to be, the years down the road when I have a daughter and, teaching her how to, throw a softball and all that stuff. So I think that's what's cool and what I look forward to also.
Good news is I have a feeling you got a lot of softball left in left in
Yeah.
you between college and pro there. How much as a team are you all driven and motivated with what baseball did a year ago, bringing the national title?
Yeah.
Is that something that motivates and inspires you as a team as well?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. And I think they that was a great win on their part. They had the whole school rooting for them. And last night at our award banquet, when they announced the, moment of the year for the school year, it was the baseball winning it, and then everybody had turned around and was like, "That's going to be us next year." So that's pretty cool to think that we're already having that on our mind, and we definitely have goals for this season, and that's gonna be one of them.
What's it like to be in Oklahoma City?
Oh, it's cool. It's very cool. It's special to, be on that field that you watched when you were so young and like, you know, just like thinking like, wow, I'm on the biggest stage possible. And it's very fun to, just play and compete and bring your best because everyone else is bringing your best too. So it's very, very cool.
What do you take from that experience that you hope to apply the next time you're there?
Yeah, I think being there as a freshman, it was, obviously we wanted to win, right? But I know that having that experience then would probably only prepare me for, when we get back there, knowing that I've been there before. It's not my first rodeo, and I can be, helpful to people who haven't been there and who are nervous and, may just have questions and like want to know what it's like. And I think that's important too, to have somebody that kind of knows what it's like.
Who is the leaders on the team by example or by vocally on this team?
Um, let's see, vocal leaders for sure. I would say McKenna Gibson. She always is just like such a great leader. She is consistent every single day. She shows up and she does her work. She expects everyone else's best, and she'll tell you when you're slacking. She'll tell you when something goes wrong, but and it's not in a rude way. Like, she's just a great teammate, and she expects the best out of her teammates as well. I'd also say Kinsey Fiedler. She's a vocal leader as well in the outfield. So, and that's another thing. It's important that our team has, leaders in the infield and in the outfield, because they're kind of separated, when they go in practice and they're doing one thing over here and one thing over there. So to have Kinsey as well, who is going to give it to you straight and, tell you that it's important for our team and helps us grow. And then, I think everybody really, especially, upperclassmen, like even Ella Dodge, she's a younger classmate, but she's been very much a leader on our team and, really showed the way for, I think, the young people on our team, what it means to, show up every day consistently, be intentional with everything you're doing, and just being such a great teammate. Like, she's truly, she's very special to play with.
Are you more of a vocal leader? You like to lead by example, or are you a little bit of both?
I would say I probably lead by example for the most part. I'm trying to work on the vocal leading. That's been something that's been kind of a challenge for me because I've not always been like a tell it to you straight kind of person. I'm
Sure.
more of a I'm gonna tell you what makes you happy, which is not always the best thing. So I've been working on that, and for our pitchers, I think I've become more of a vocal leader. But on a team standpoint, I would say that McKenna, Kinsey, um, and yeah, some are upperclassmen. But when the time is right, I will give my 2 cents.
Who's the comedian on the team?
And the comedian.
Yeah,
Let's see.
somebody's got to crack a joke. When it's get a lighthearted moment there, loosen things up. Who's the go-to there?
Yeah. The whole team might not agree with me on this, but I would say Aubrey Barnhart. She cracks me up. She's just she's kind of quiet if you haven't talked to her a whole lot, but like if you really know her, like you'll stand next to her and you're just laugh the whole time. So I would say her.
That's the important part. You got to have every team has to have one of those, two of those. You have to. It's a long
Yeah.
year, right? With peaks and valleys,
Yeah,
you have
for
to have
sure.
somebody that can keep things in unique perspective. Um,
Yes.
what are areas of your game that you still feel like you need to get better at? Because that's people on the outside. It's like, man, she's like doing unbelievable success. But I know the great ones and all the great players have always told me there's always something to work on. What is that for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. One thing that kind of was brought to my attention this last weekend, which hadn't really been an issue, but now that like it has happened, that I want to pay more attention to is just like the consistency with my changeup. And my changeup has always been very much a helpful pitch for me. So I think making in-game adjustments really would be the word, what I'm looking for. Just because, if it wasn't really there against Texas, and I was so caught up in the fact that, oh, it's not working like it normally does, that I couldn't make the adjustment quick enough to just like forget about that it wasn't there the first, second inning, and then just make the adjustment quickly for the rest of the game. So I would say making in-game adjustments to pitches.
I think it worked out. It worked out. I think
It
you
did. It
figured
did
it out.
work
You
out.
figured it out.
It
All right.
did.
Megan Rhodes Smith. Give me a Megan Rhodes Smith story in the bullpen session or anything. Give me a Megan Rhodes Smith bullpen who played herself. She wore
Okay.
the jersey there.
Oh, I might have to think about this one. Let's see. Hmm. I'm trying to think.
It's tense moments here.
I know. I'm trying to think of a funny one.
What's her personality like?
Okay, I kind of have a funny story. So this one, Megan she's very much like like she doesn't eat sugar, she is very healthy, and she believes like she doesn't like wearing shoes sometimes. Like she's very much I don't know, she just cares about like health and stuff like that. And she's also a sports psychology major as well. So
Yes.
that's very helpful for us pitchers. But we do a lot of visualizing and like meditating. And and I love doing that. I think it like gets me like really locked in. But there was one time like before practice, we are all stretching and like getting on the line and right field to start our warm up. And the bullpen's like right behind us. And, all of us pitchers kind of like go to the end to warm up. We're all kind of next to each other. And we turn around and Megan is like sprawled out in the bullpen, like on her back, like laying on the ground. I think she was either sunbathing or meditating or something, but it was just like so funny to like turn around and like she's just laying on the ground. It was funny.
Oh, I'm gonna have to give her a hard time about that next time I get her on the pod
Yeah.
there. Wait, and she doesn't like wearing. Wait, you said she didn't wear shoes?
Well, no, she wears shoes, but she's just like talked about how like they like misshape your feet and stuff. So like she's just concerned with like being doing the best things you can for your body, which I think is great. So, and I
Okay.
love Megan. She's so special and she's helped me so much. So,
No, she's the best. She's the best, and I think Coach Weekly's talked about having her back on the program has been a big plus
yeah.
for the program there as well. All right, my last question to you now. You got a long season. You still got a lot of games to go here.
Mhm.
What are the keys for your team to continue this positive momentum and continue the great play and eventually try to accomplish your internal goals?
Yeah, I would say the biggest key for us is to just keep competing and competing for us, not worrying about, who the jersey on the other team's name or anything like that, which is what we have been doing. So I think continuing that and just focusing on our team, focusing on the things that we know work for us. And then just that energy piece, whenever we show up and we bring the energy and we're chirping and we're loud and we're having fun, that is the Tennessee that, I know and love and know that if we are that team, then we're going to be the last team standing in the World Series.
Well, I wish you well on that the rest of the way. In the meantime, keep up the great play. Like I said, I enjoy watching you play. Every time I see you with that joy and energy there, that's fun to watch. I'm glued. So
Yeah,
thanks for everything you're doing for the sport to this point, and thanks for taking the time. I know it's a busy schedule as a student athlete to come on with your schedule, but for coming on here on In the Circle and D1 Softball, and I appreciate you taking the time.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.